name is Aslam, and today I will tell you how to convert a data table in JSON format with UiPath. Right. So I will show you how to create. So suppose if you have a data in this format, in the tabular format, this is just for dummy data, so it will be anything. So as of now, I was put only 3 column and 4 rows, right, for the demonstration purpose. So this is the ID, name, and address, and we have a 4 employee IDs, for their name and addresses. Right. So this is data. I will convert this data table in JSON array. Right. So I need to convert this data in JSON array. So how to do this? Let's start. Okay. So this is our UiPath Studio windows. So our first steps are we need to read the Excel data in data table, right? So for doing this, I will use Excel scope activities. So first I will use Excel process scope and then use Excel file, right? So here I need to provide the file path. So I'm going here. This is our Excel file path where we have a data. So I need to convert this in the JSON, right? And in okay, so now I use read range activity to load the Excel data in data table, right? So in the range, I need to provide the sheet details. So we have already Excel dot sheet reference. So our all the data was in sheet one. So I need to select sheet one. Okay. And where I need to store this, I will storing this in the data table. So DTEMP, I was just created one data table. Okay. So this data table was created. So now first step has been completed. So I have read the Excel sheet and store all the data in the data table. It's right. So now the next step is I need to convert this data table in JSON format. Okay, so for converting this data in the JSON format, I need to import one namespace newtonsoft.json, right? So I'm just importing this newtonsoft.json in our project. You also need to do this. Okay, and then I need to use assign activity to convert this data table in JSON format. Okay, okay. So in this expression, I need to write a code to convert this data table in JSON. So you remember I had already inserted the Newtons of JSON, right? Newtons of JSON. So I was just putting the Newtons of namespace dot JSON convert, right? Dot serialize object. So if you see this, this will be accepting the parameter or argument as the object. So we have already DTEMP, right? So object will be accepting any type of any data type. So it will accept integer string or data table or anything, right? And if you see the return type, so the return type is a string. So it will convert data table in a string, right? So that's all. Okay, so I need to create a string variable where it will stores. I just created strjson dt, right? So now data table was converted in the JSON dt string format in JSON dt. Okay, so let's see how this look like. Right, so I want to check the out. So let's use a message box activity to just validate the output. Here I'm putting the str JSON dt. Okay, I'm going to run this process. Yeah, so if you see, so our Excel data was loaded and converted in the JSON format, right? So if you see the data was coming in the JSON format. So in JSON format, we have a key value pair. So ID one, name one, and then everything was coming in the comma separate. But this is not an actual JSON array. This is the JSON string, right? So I need to deserialize this JSON string to actual JSON array format, right? So how to do this? So I need to use a web API. right? So you need to insert add this packages in your project web API dot activity, right? So it will, if you see, so using this will be used for JSON, REST API, SOAP, XAML, right? So you need to include this web API activity in your project, right? And I will use deserialize. Okay. So if you see in the JSON format, I have seen two method. In the XAML also we have two method, right? So if you see in the JSON format, we have a two method. One is the deserialized JSON, and another is the deserialized JSON array, right? So if you read this descriptions and the library details, so it was coming from the web API activity. And if you see the description, so deserialize the JSON array string, right? If you, I over on the H over on the first activity, so it will show deserialize the JSON string to J object, right? So in my cases, I the output is in the JSON string, not in the JSON array string, right? So I will use this first method because in my cases, our output is the JSON string, right? In case our output was on the JSON array string, then on those case, we will use this deserialized JSON array, right? But here, in our cases, we have a JSON string. So I'm using this JSON string and just going to deserialize this, right? So if you see this, I'm going on the property, just argument type is object, that's fine. You don't need to do anything, just control K and then J object. I was creating one J object. Okay, so if you see one new variable is created J object and the data type is object, right? So let's see how it's look like. I'm again adding another message box here, right? And J object, I'm passing this. Now, and if you see, I have two message box. One is the JSON string, another is the object. So let's see how both look like. So I'm going to run this process. Okay. So Excel sheet was read, and the first message box shown in the JSON string. And after converting, if you see, this is the actual JSON format, right? So this the JSON string was formatted as a JRA object. So now our Excel sheet data was converted in the finally a JSON format, right? That's all in this process. So you can also use this JSON format to insert the multiple asset through code, right? So you can also create a multiple assets through Excel sheet. You don't need to go in the orchestrator and manually copy pasting one by one. You can directly use the Excel file and put the value and convert this in the JSON format and just use the HTTP JSON API request and try to use this JSON format and create a asset through code, right? But this code is not applicable for production because at production you don't have access to connect with code, right? So production uh orchestrator, generally you are not authorized to connect from the local, right? So that is the other way. But for development purpose, you can just try to use this JSON format and create multiple asset at one go without going to the orchestrator, right? But yeah, I will tell you how to create a production asset without copy pasting. So that is the other topic, right? So till now, if you have any query, just ask me, and if you have any feedback, just give me. Thank you, thank you everyone.